Okay, week 5. We're in the book of Ruth, or the story of Ruth. And again, we're looking at the wisdom of Solomon at work, and that's starting on page 80. And on page 80, I always get a little sentimental about this verse, and I'll explain later. But it says, from Ruth, uh, chapter 1, verses 16 17. I will go wherever you go and live wherever you live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. I will die where you die, and I will be buried there. May the Lord punish me severely if I allow anything but death to separate us. I always thought those would be great wedding vows, in addition to me personally. But what a great statement of faith from Ruth to say that she's going to go and upheave her whole life and take that leap of faith. And so, if anyone has seen the movie Fried Green Tomatoes, it's one of my favorite movies. Um, this is one of the themes that emanate within it. Now, I know Hollywood does its thing and wanted to put or try to construe a lesbian theme between Ruth and Iggy Threadgood. And again, I'm not here to um, discuss all that. What I'm looking at is that on face value of Fried Green Tomatoes, when you look at Ruth and the character of Ruth, she symbolizes and embodies Ruth from the Bible. That she she pretty much says to Iggy, "I'm going to come and follow you," and it's just amazing that kind of is just embedded in there for those who are looking for it. So, all right, let's move on to page 81. And it says, why are you being so kind to me? She asked. I'm only a foreigner. And Boaz replied with, yes, I know, but I also know about the love and the kindness you have and what you've shown for your mother in law. And I've heard how you left your father and your mother in your own land to live here to be among complete strangers. And so I think this is a good point to talk about how actions speak louder than words. And that as leaders, um, your actions always. We tell this to kids all the time. It's um, sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never hurt me. The idea that the action speaks louder than the word, and so um, the sticks and stones part, that's the action, and that hurts. Although we get stuck up on the name for whatever reason. Um, but the action speaks louder. And so when we think about that as leaders, when we think about how you lead, and thinking about the way Ruth led, and her actions was that she gave, that um, willingness to just lean in and commit herself wholeheartedly. Um, and in doing so, and other people were able to, as Boaz, um, he even saw and remarked, as I was just read. And that's what you need to think about as well. How are you really leading? And does the talk match the walk, so to speak? And you'll find that if you just do the walking, people will do the talking. And I think of in the Bible, a lot of the times, yes, Jesus did preach. Yes, he did. But when we think of Jesus and we think of what we remember most about him that comes to mind, you think of the actions. When we speak of how he fed the masses with the loaf of bread and the fish, and then we look at he turned the water into wine, and we think about all these actions that he did, um, and that's what we talk about, and that's what true leaders do. They commit to the walk and don't worry so much about the talk because people will do the talking for them. On page 83, it says, but it was love and compassion for each other that enriched their ability to see beyond themselves and to contribute more deeply to the lives of each other. And again, that's really what you see in Fried Green Tomatoes between the character of Ruth and Iggy Threadgood. Um, and again, I know Hollywood tries to construe that and make it look more uh, more sensuous than I think it needs to be. But the point is, um, on face value, when you look at that movie and those two characters, um, you truly can see the Book of Ruth in Ruth, and her symbolizing that, and that both of them are working together out of a platonic love for each other, and they're seeing beyond themselves, and they are contributing, to each other in the way of life. Um, and then that's what we see later on in the movie, where Iggy, who is this um, much older woman um, who's in the hospice, and then you see Kathy Bates' character come through, and she is, helping her to see beyond herself and as well as Iggy. And so, again, very powerful to see that it continues. That Ruth helped Iggy, and then Iggy's now helping Kathy Bates' character. And sorry, I can't remember um, all that, but anywho. Point is, that's how we work with one another, um, is that we're hopefully enriching each other's lives. That's why I get up every day. Um, I think of the Book of Ruth and think about, it's something bigger than myself. And I'm doing it for these kids. I'm doing it, um, and and then getting the kids to do that as well. That yes, it's not just doing it for themselves, but because there's a bigger picture here for that. On page 84, um, it starts talking about the many reasons that were given for acting compassionately towards one another, and they cluster around our moral religious belief systems. Um, and I think this harks back to what we talked in the previous weeks about authentic leadership. And when we think about, um, you know, being compassionate and leading and acting with compassion, that's what authentic leaders do. And then further down it says, compassion denotes that we view another in a situation of struggle, but not necessarily crisis. Struggle can be positive. And I want to take a pause there to say, again, we talked about that by perception and attitudes, like all in how you see and frame that. Um, and so when we think about, as leaders, how do you see this? Do you frame it in a negative or a positive? Is this an opportunity that you see? And again, we're seeing that compassion, and authentic leaders do this. They're compassionate and they see this as a situation of struggle, but not necessarily a crisis. They see that this is an opportunity for growth. This is an opportunity to do better, to do God's work, and not that, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble and I'm going to. But it's all about how you see it, and that is another hallmark of leadership that we need to think about. Is that the best leaders help us to see the best and bring out the best in us, and that goes through having a different filter, perception, a lens, and trying to be on that positive side, the growth mindset side. And then lastly, page 88, and it says that Ruth and Naomi have chosen to see beyond themselves, and their compassion actions serve as a beacon for us. Their stories have prompted us to consider the importance of a point of entry into the lives of others. And what hit me here to share was that I think of Rick Warren and the purpose-driven life. And so you think about, what is your purpose? Um, I was very blessed early on, from like I think 5, and really early. I've been playing school. I've been playing school since I can ever remember. I was, as soon as I could drive, I was going to the teacher store and I was buying grade books and that's what I did on the weekends and had fun. I'd make up my own grade books. Um, I would keep my own grade books for my own classes. Um, Not that I was teaching, but my own actual class. I was in a class and would write every assignment and all my grades that I would get back. Um, I had a Commodore 64 computer and I was creating worksheets. Um, a real nerd geek, whatever you want to call it. But boy, did I knew my purpose early on that I was going to be an educator. And I've always been thankful to God that I knew that. Many of us don't, though. Many of us are struggling along the way, trying to figure out what is it that He wants from us. What is it He's hoping to have us do? Um, and I pray for those people because I couldn't imagine not knowing my purpose and having that set for me. Um, so when I think about that, that purpose-driven life, determining what is your purpose. That's a book you might want to think about reading from Rick Warren, The Purpose-Driven Life. That gave me another refresh and rethink. Um, but again, for if you are still sitting there thinking about, where do I go, and I still don't, I'm questioning I would tell you lean into Ruth, lean into that book of Ruth and her example, and taking that leap of faith and um, going going with what is in your heart. Um, Sorry, it's raining here, and so anytime I hear the sound of water coming down in my little area, I have to look and make sure I don't have a leak. Sorry. All right, so again, lean in, take that leap of faith like Ruth, and have strong faith, um, and you'll be surprised of where you go. All right. Again, I hope you're having a great week.